The polished marble floors of the Riverside Country Club reflected the crystal chandeliers as my cousin. Michelle's wedding reception reached its crescendo. I sat at the family table in my simple black dress, having arrived late after a 14-hour day at the medical center. The champagne flowed freely as relatives shared toasts and updates about their latest career achievements. "So, Rebecca," my Aunt Caroline announced loudly enough for half the reception to hear, "still working at that hospital." Her voice carried the particular tone she reserved for discussing what she considered my poor life choices. I looked up from my barely touched dinner. "Yes, at Riverside Medical Center. Such a shame," she continued, adjusting her Cartier watch for maximum visibility. "All that education, and you're stuck working for someone else in a hospital job." My cousin David, Caroline's son and a successful real estate developer, nodded in agreement. Rebecca's always been too comfortable with steady employment instead of building something for herself. I continued eating quietly, accustomed to being the family disappointment at these gatherings. "The problem with hospital jobs," Aunt Caroline proclaimed to our table of 12, "is that they're for people without real ambition. You trade hours for a paycheck, follow orders from administrators, never build any real wealth." Michelle's new mother-in-law looked interested. "What exactly do you do at the hospital, Rebecca?" Before I could answer, Aunt Caroline jumped in. "Hospital work, patient care, medical records, whatever they have her doing. The point is she's an employee, not an entrepreneur." Still, the mother-in-law said kindly, "Healthcare is important work." "Important, yes," Caroline agreed condescendingly, "but not profitable. Rebecca will never own anything, never build generational wealth. She'll work until she's 65 and retire on a modest pension." David leaned forward conspiratorially. "I've been trying to convince Rebecca to get her real estate license. Healthcare doesn't build assets like property development does." "Exactly my point," Caroline said triumphantly. "David owns 12 properties now. Passive income. Real equity, something to pass down to his children. Hospital employees don't build that kind of wealth." My phone buzzed against my clutch purse. I glanced at the screen. Riverside Medical Emergency. Caroline noticed and rolled her eyes. "See, even at family weddings, the hospital calls. No boundaries when you're just another employee." David's never interrupted at social events, because he owns his business. I silenced the phone and returned to my salmon. "That's the fundamental difference," Caroline continued, clearly enjoying her audience. "Employees are always at someone else's beck and call. Business owners control their own time." The mother-in-law looked sympathetic. "Rebecca, do you enjoy the work at least?" "I do," I said quietly. "Well, that's something," Caroline said with false encouragement. "Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Some people are natural employees. Rebecca's always been content with that role." My phone rang insistently. Same number. I knew I should probably take it. "Excuse me," I said, standing from the table. Caroline shook her head dramatically. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Hospital employees are never truly off duty." I stepped onto the club's terrace overlooking the golf course and answered, "Dr. Patterson speaking." "Dr. Patterson, this is Dr. Rodriguez in the emergency department. I apologize for calling during your cousin's wedding, but we have a situation requiring your immediate authorization." I could hear the music and laughter from the reception behind me as I moved further from the building. "What's the situation?" "We have a 58-year-old female patient presenting with severe chest pain and elevated cardiac enzymes. She's refusing treatment and demanding to be transferred to University Hospital. She's insisting our facility isn't equipped for her needs." "What's the patient's name?" "Caroline Mitchell. She keeps saying she knows the owner of this hospital and that she'll have our licenses revoked if we don't transfer her immediately." My blood ran cold. Caroline Mitchell was Aunt Caroline's married name. "Dr. Rodriguez, what's her current condition?" "EKG shows ST elevation in leads 2, 3, and AVF. Troponins are significantly elevated. She's having an acute myocardial infection, but she's refusing our cardiac catheterization lab." I closed my eyes. "She's having a heart attack." "Yes, and time is critical, but she won't consent to treatment here. She keeps demanding to speak to whoever owns Riverside Medical Center. I took a deep breath. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't let her leave until I arrive. Should I tell her you're coming? Just tell her the owner will speak with her personally. I hung up and walked back into the reception, where Caroline was in the middle of explaining to the entire table why hospital employment was a dead-end career path. Rebecca, she called as I approached. Everything okay? Let me guess. Some administrative crisis that couldn't wait until Monday. Actually, Aunt Caroline, I need to leave. There's been an emergency, she laughed. Of course, there has, Rebecca. This is my point exactly. Hospital employees never get to enjoy their personal time because they're always at someone else's mercy. The emergency involves you. The laughter died on her face. What do you mean? You need to come with me to Riverside Medical Center immediately. That's ridiculous. I feel fine. David looked concerned. Mom, what's Rebecca talking about? I have no idea. Rebecca, I'm not going anywhere. This is Michelle's wedding reception. I sat down beside her and lowered my voice. Aunt Caroline, you're having a heart attack. You need immediate medical treatment. Her face went pale. That's impossible. I just have some mild indigestion from dinner. You went to Riverside Medical Center emergency room about an hour ago with chest pain. You're currently refusing treatment and demanding to be transferred to University Hospital. The table fell silent except for the sound of the wedding band playing in the background. I did drive myself to the emergency room earlier, Caroline admitted quietly. But it's just heartburn. And I told them I wanted to be transferred to a real hospital. Riverside Medical Center is a real hospital, Aunt Caroline, and you're having a real heart attack. David stood up quickly. Mom, we need to get you to a hospital right now. I'm already at the hospital, I said. The problem is she won't let the doctors treat her. Caroline looked confused. Rebecca, what does this have to do with you? Because I own Riverside Medical Center. The silence stretched for several long seconds. That's impossible, Caroline whispered. Riverside Medical Center, along with 3 other hospitals in our network, you're currently refusing treatment at my facility because you don't think it's good enough. David stared at me. Rebecca, what are you saying? I'm saying that while Aunt Caroline has been lecturing about hospital jobs being for people without ambition, she's been having a heart attack at the medical center I built from the ground up. Caroline's breathing became labored. Rebecca, I don't understand. I founded Riverside Medical Center 8 years ago. We're now the largest private hospital network in the state with over 8,000 employees and annual revenues exceeding $900 million. The mother-in-law's champagne glass slipped from her hands. But you said you work at the hospital. I do work there. I'm the founder, owner, and chief executive officer. David pulled out his phone with shaking hands. I'm calling an ambulance. No need, I said, standing. I'll drive her myself. My cardiac team is already prepped and waiting. As we walked toward the exit, Caroline grabbed my arm. Rebecca, I can't afford private hospital bills. My insurance and Caroline, your family cost isn't a concern right now. The 15-minute drive to Riverside Medical Center passed mostly in silence, with Caroline clutching her chest and David following in his car. When we arrived, the trauma team was waiting with a gurney. Dr. Rodriguez met us at the entrance. Dr. Patterson, thank you for coming. The patient's condition has worsened since we spoke. Caroline's eyes widened as she was transferred to the gurney. Dr. Patterson, Rebecca. Why is he calling you Dr. Patterson? Because that's my name and title. Dr. Rebecca Patterson, owner and CEO of Riverside Medical Center. As we rushed through the emergency department, Caroline stared in amazement at the state-of-the-art facility around her. Rebecca, she gasped between labored breaths. This place is incredible, thank you. We're particularly proud of our cardiac care unit. Dr. Rodriguez updated me as we walked. Cardiac catheterization lab is ready. Dr. Martinez is scrubbed in and standing by. Good. Let's get her prepped immediately. Caroline looked terrified as we reached the cardiac unit. Rebecca, I'm scared. Is this a good hospital? Do you have qualified doctors? I squeezed her hand gently. Aunt Caroline, Dr. Martinez is one of the top interventional cardiologists in the region. You're getting the best possible care, but I said such terrible things about this place. That doesn't matter now. What matters is getting you healthy. Dr. Martinez appeared beside us in surgical scrubs. Dr. Patterson, we need to proceed immediately. The blockage is in her left anterior descending artery. Do whatever's necessary to save her, I said. 2 hours later, I found David and the rest of the family, who had arrived from the wedding in the cardiac waiting area. They all looked up anxiously as I approached. The procedure was successful, I announced. Dr. Martinez was able to open the blocked artery and place 2 stances. Caroline should make a complete recovery. The family erupted in relief and gratitude. David hugged me tightly. Rebecca, thank you for saving her life. And I'm so sorry for the things we said about your career. You don't need to apologize, David. Yes, I do. While I've been flipping houses, you've been building a medical empire and saving lives. Michelle, still in her wedding dress, looked stunned. Rebecca, I had no idea you owned hospitals for hospitals now. Actually, we just acquired Westside General last month. David shook his head in amazement. All this time, we thought you were just working for someone else. I was working for someone else initially, but I saw opportunities to improve healthcare delivery and started my own medical group. Dr. Martinez joined our conversation. Dr. Patterson, your aunt is awake and asking for you. I followed him to Caroline's room in the cardiac care unit. She looked small and fragile connected to the various monitors, but her color was much better. Rebecca, she said weakly as I entered, I owe you an apology. The biggest apology of my life. Aunt Caroline, you don't need to. Yes, I do. I spent years dismissing your career, making fun of hospital work, acting like you lacked ambition. Meanwhile, you were building something incredible. I pulled up a chair beside her bed. The work speaks for itself. Does it? Because I clearly wasn't listening. She paused, looking around the private room. Rebecca, this facility is amazing. The staff, the technology, the care I received. We focus on combining excellent medical care with compassionate service. And you built all this with a lot of help from incredible medical professionals who share the vision of accessible, high-quality healthcare. Caroline was quiet for a moment. How much is this going to cost? The emergency care, the surgery, the hospital stay. Don't worry about cost right now. Focus on recovery. Rebecca, I can't afford, Aunt Caroline. One of the principles of Riverside Medical Center is that no one should go without care because of financial constraints. We'll work something out. She started crying softly. I don't deserve your kindness. Not after the things I said. Your family, that's all that matters. Martinez returned with Caroline's post-procedure results. Dr. Patterson, the angio looks excellent. Blood flow is completely restored. Wonderful. What's the recovery timeline? She can go home in 2 days with cardiac rehabilitation starting next week. After Dr. Martinez left, Caroline looked at me with new eyes. Rebecca, can I ask you something? Of course. Why didn't you ever tell us what you'd accomplished? Why let us think you were just another hospital employee? I considered the question carefully, because every person who works in healthcare is contributing something valuable. The nurse, who monitors your vitals, the technician who runs your tests, the administrator who processes your insurance, they're all essential. But you're the owner today. Yes, but I started as a staff physician. I worked night shifts, covered emergencies, did everything the people you dismissed as lacking ambition do every day. Caroline nodded slowly. I understand now. Do you? Because when you're discharged, I'll go back to seeing patients, reviewing cases, working alongside the same hospital employees you thought were beneath entrepreneurial success. And I'll never think of healthcare workers the same way again. As I left Caroline's room, I thought about her earlier proclamation that hospital jobs are for people without real ambition. In a few days, she'd go home to tell everyone about the incredible care she received at the medical center her niece had built. Just another day at the